Well, ahoy, man. I'll tell you what, it has been a rough few days here at the Hacienda del Huck. Yeah, yeah, Mondo Heather has been elsewhere. She's been off pursuing duties and obligations across town. And so she and I have just been kind of catching each other, kind of hit and run, haven't really seen much of each other. And between me and the animals, we have kind of been feeling the lack of Heather in this house. And it's kind of made everything I've been trying to do over the last several days be like a mad, insane rush all over the place. So I have not been in the greatest headspace, and I have really basically been in kind of a doom spiral. Uh, Crashing and burning, not doing all that well at the day job, and I don't know, just generally speaking, kind of, I'm a mess, is what I'm saying. I'm just a mess. But I wanted to get a quick, easy movie review out for you, and well, I figure what could be better, you know, Mommy! No, I'm not talking Darth Vader here. I'm talking Blue Velvet. Now, yeah, back a little while ago, I did Mulholland Drive, and I probably mentioned my belief that that is kind of, like David Lynch's best, most cohesive kind of intricately created just masterpiece. And but and pretty much, yeah, that stands. That is my belief. You know what though? There is one movie I like better, and it's Blue Velvet. Um, 86, 87. I want to say 86, but my brain keeps going 87. But god damn it, if you're here, you know it. You know what it is. Okay, so this beast picks up with this beautiful montage to the old Bobby Vinton chestnut. And it's sunny and it's wonderful, and it's Norman Rockwell esque backgrounds and nice lush colors, and just all these kind of what is a word I want to look, bucolic scenes of just Americana, basically. The lady, the crossing guard bringing the kids across the street. Just don't make it the Jack Nicholson style crossing guard. That'd be bad. That's a movie. I need to cover that movie. The crossing guard. I'll put a pin in that. All right. But so you get this nice montage, beautiful montage, and you've got, and finally something goes wrong. Guy's out there watering his lawn, and he suddenly has a spasm. He goes down, and you get the kind of classic thing. Everything's suddenly very wrong. Dude's lying on the ground. His garden hose is going crazy. The little doggy is snapping and snarling at it. And then you see all these beetles crawling around the grass. And all ain't as nice and Norman Rockwell as you think it is. The man has had a stroke, and his son Jeffrey, played by Kyle MacLachlan, who obviously is done so well as Paul Atreides in the aborted version of Dune, that he gets to come back and fight another day with David Lynch, and what a gladiator he becomes. This is just a great thing. He comes in, and David Lynch has kind of referred to this. He kind of referred to this film as I'm trying to think of how he put it. It was like the Hardy Boys go to hell or something, and that's very accurate. So he's visiting his dad, kind of taking his father's place or filling in for him at the hardware store that he owns, and family hardware store, and he just kind of in one scene just bumming past a vacant lot, and he sees an ear in the ground, and from there everything spirals out of control. Yes, just a severed ear has been found in a vacant lot, and with this severed ear comes a big mystery. He takes it to a local police detective whose daughter Sandy, played by Laura Dern, and yep, Laura Dern is now, this is pretty much, I think, her premiere in the Lynchverse, and of course, MacLachlan and Dern would later have a very long history with David Lynch, but she's very curious about that. Hey, you're the guy who found the ear, aren't you? I heard my dad talking about it, and they kind of start talking, and they start conspiring, and they say, "Oh well, my dad this name of this singer keeps popping up. She sings at this nice nightclub, and she lives over at this building, and things evolve, and they go to this nightclub to check out this singer, and her name is Dorothy Valens, and she sings very off-key torch songs with particularly the titular Blue Velvet, and she's played by Isabella Rossellini, and a good little turn for her, and she will return in Wild at Heart with Laura Dern. But she plays kind of lady of mystery up there singing her song, and Jeffrey goes and starts kind of poking around her, and kind of gets drawn into her world, and as it gets drawn into her world, the damn world explodes, and in walks Bruce Dern. Sorry, Bruce. In walks Dennis Hopper as Frank Booth, and there's a huge plot involving Frank, who's a very scary, dangerous criminal, and if you live in the Huckverse, that all becomes very funny lore, because Mondo, Heather, and I kind of refer to Frank as the only real man in the movie, and Dennis Hopper burns it down with this performance, and typically, the only thing I had known him as around that time was his character in Easy Rider. Big, kind of gregarious, but not necessarily on the ball, kind of hippie drug dealer dude who gets gunned down. But here he absolutely is just this savage criminal, and check out, if you want to hear my weird kind of Freudian thinking about Frank Booth, all I can say is check out the breakdown we did on the Deep Images podcast, and we talk about that a great deal. You can check that out right here on the Tube of Views, and but not going to go into that here. But Frank is just kind of holding Dorothy the singer prisoner, and is kind of holding her husband and son prisoner, and is also kind of strong arming her, and of course has a very bad impact. Yeah, like getting hit by a meteor on Jeffrey's life, and as he gets drawn further into her world, he ends up kind of bumping up against him, and it's very scary. Him and his crew. Let me tell you about Frank's crew, because they include the ever-present Jack Nance, Jack Eraserhead Nance. You see him about a million things. He did a ton of Lynch stuff. You might remember him from Twin Peaks. She is dead, wrapped in plastic, or just a bunch of stuff. And a great little character, great character actor, and in this, his name is Paul. I'm Paul. What's your name? I'm Paul. And Brad Dourif is Raymond, who's the guy with the knife. Yeah, don't mess with Raymond. And Raymond's probably going to cut you just as soon as look at you. And then some blonde guy who, I don't know, appears to be, the muscle or the wheelman or something or other. But just kind of a nameless stooge who I don't think he has much in the way of dialogue by Presto. And Dean Stockwell as Ben, the very weirdly androgynous looking character who sits around his apartment playing old, fairly characterless sounding blues music on the hi-fi with a bunch of old ho-dads, and just the music is kind of generically bluesy. I don't know, it's almost like NPC blues or something. But have a very funny crew. You get the impression that Ben, played by Dean Stockwell, is probably the most dangerous character. He may be more dangerous than Frank. I don't know, no telling. But, of course, Frank's a wild card. And he'll do anything that moves. But I posited this on the podcast, and I'll say it here too. I want to see, this is me fantasy booking an alternate reality, Dennis Hopper's gone, Jack Nance is gone, Dean Stockwell's gone, Brad Dourif, knock on wood, is still with us, Chucky himself. They are, he's still hanging, he's still with us, but the blonde guy, I don't know about, he got flushed down the toilet or something. But I wanted to see the movie about Frank's crew. Maybe make it like a road trip movie or something like that. Can you imagine these freaks like driving cross country, maybe getting in a tragic shootout or something? I don't know. It'd be a laugh. Anyway, but somewhere in the midst of all this, Jeffrey's kind of almost got like the classic Madonna horror complex going on. He's obviously attracted to Sandy, but they have a very chaste kind of relationship. She's, you know, going out with this high school football player, and Jeffrey's just kind of back from college, and and so very chaste, at least to begin with, and then he's got this thing going also with Dorothy, who's kinky, but beyond that, she's really messed up. She's not in a good headspace. And she's, in a very bad situation with Frank. Well, it's a big conflict. And so it's kind of like this big light dark dichotomy. There is just this conflict between the darkness and the light. And probably one of the scenes in it, and it's funny, me and my aunt, R.I.P., she took this film class, and they showed her, Eraserhead, and I think they showed her Blue Velvet, and we would talk about it a little bit, and she, I think was discussing this thing, and I think unless you're in Lynch's headspace, and this is probably, with the exception of maybe The Elephant Man and The Straight Story, I mean, it's the straightest narrative you're going to see in a Lynch flick. And it's pretty much a 1, 2, 3 story. I mean, it's basic. It's a basic kind of noirish mystery / whatever. And but there is that whole kind of overarching conflict, which comes there. Part and parcel with that is kind of a dream logic flow that you see with everything Lynch does, and that's kind of what ties it to a lot of his other stuff. I would say, I don't know, the funny thing about that is there's one scene where Jeffrey gets Sandy, the two of them kind of sit alone in a car parked in front of a church. There's symbology for you. And he is basically unpacking and trauma dumping everything that he's been going through with this whole thing, or a good chunk of what he's been going through. And sharing it with her, and she's flabbergasted, doesn't know what to say. And he's suddenly, dealing with Frank and the danger of Frank and what an awful person Frank is. Jeffrey kind of uncorks and unpacks in front of her, and he just starts crying and saying, why are there people like Frank? Why is there so much trouble in the world? And my aunt told me that a bunch of people in her class were kind of laughing at that, and they were laughing at that, and to a degree or another, I think that a lot of that that kind of comes with the Lynch package. And if you're not necessarily inculcated into the Lynch universe, what, presto? No, buddy. All the animals are very upset to not have their mama home. Their mama's coming home shortly. But anyway, with the Lynch thing, yeah, they're all, it's all kind of crazy, and and unless you're in with that, it's going to be kind of uncomfortable and may elicit laughter. Well, there's that, and then Sandy responds with this thing about, I had this dream, this beautiful dream about the robins, and the robins came and they brought this blinding light of love. And then at the end of the movie, there's a whole coda where you hear this Julie Cruz song, and Jeffrey wakes up, and the whole thing has almost like a dreamlike narrative, like everything was sort of a bad dream, and then from there, everything's better and everything's nice and order is restored, and then you see a robin up in a tree, this kind of fake, almost robot robin, you know, with a with a beetle in his mouth. Because you see the beetles at the beginning, and the beetles are all scary and gross, but the robins came and they ate all the beetles, and they brought a blinding light of love, and everything's better. And but my aunt said when they went into that monologue, it's like everybody started tittering at that. They started laughing over over the when the robins come monologue. And ever since hearing that, it's like, I think initially I didn't really think anything. I thought it was okay, it's a little odd, but whatever, it's the movie. And after my aunt talked about that and I watched that scene, I started laughing at it. And, to this day, I always laugh at it. But in a way, I think there's a derisive kind of quality to it where I think at once, it's a complicated kind of thing, because I think Lynch sees the darkness of the world, but at the same time, that Norman Rockwell existence is something he longs for. And that the robins coming and bringing in the blinding light of love, I think, is something in the world he longs for, whether he can believe in it or not, whether you can believe in it or not. And, in the end, order is restored, and it has almost kind of a fantastical feel to it, which maybe in the coda, and again, I forward you to our podcast, but you can see my thoughts on the coda, and you can hear my my co-hosts kind of reacting to it and throwing in their own 2 cents. But there it is, Blue Velvet. Once it's kind of this study in contrast, light and dark, and at the same time it's a nifty little mystery with really sordid goings on and a very scary villain. And at the end of the day, it's all happiness and fun till the robins show up and eat your beetles. Anyway, have a nice day, and I'll see you with more later.